I love my life. It is a Tuesday morning. And normally I go paddleboarding Friday, Saturday, Sundays, but the weather says that it's going to be thunder and lightning. And they mean business around here when they say thunder and lightning. And so I rearranged my whole week so that I could go paddleboarding on Tuesday and Wednesday and work on Friday and Saturday. And I'm so grateful for this life that I've created that I can do this. And I'm so grateful. I just interviewed beautiful Melissa, breath worker. And I'm so grateful for how life goes when we just live fully and we just share fully and we just show up fully and we let go of the outcome and we're just present. We meet the people we're meant to meet and we're guided to be and do and have that which the divine has in store, that which we've been choosing and commanding into our life. And so isn't it amazing how my client George at Melissa's Breathwork at the end when they shared about this intimacy group and the breakthroughs that he had and so many of us have. I'm so grateful that Melissa trusted him, trusted me, and that I literally got to have dinner with both of them and her new boyfriend. After 67 dates, she starts doing the work. She faces something really deep, which tends to be who I attract. The people that have done a lot of work, but there's still a blind spot. There's still something, the core of the core, like the core vein is still a doozer. And I so respect her bravery to integrate this and be an inspiration to me and everyone of how quickly, when we do the work, our life can shift. And her health and well-being and her finances and her vocational expansion and Kent. So I'm so happy to have also been in his presence with her, to watch how he cares for her and adores her. And to me, it's a complete reflection of how she's willing to care for and adore herself, slow down, and love not just the hustle parts, but the parts that need a hug. They're equally valuable and worthy. And her, all the parts of us, are equally valuable. So I'm so grateful as I continue on my paddleboard this morning. Enjoy this podcast. I love you.
Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello and welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations, Season 11, Soul Medicine. And today we are talking about breakups and divorce and even infidelity nightmares. And I have with me today an amazing woman. She is a beloved client. She is someone who I've taken breath work with, and she is a huge contribution to our community, the amazing Melissa Saubers. You can find her at healandexpand.com. And also on Instagram, her handle is her name, Melissa Saubers, and all of that will be in the show notes for you as well. But let me tell you a little more about her, because she has one big heart, this woman. She is a heart-centered spiritual teacher, facilitator, healer, coach, and mentor with a holistic healing approach rooted in science, psychology, and spirituality. And she has a fascination for the subconscious mind and the quantum field, manifestation, and expanding consciousness. And she helps her clients on their healing, expansion, and manifestation journeys with a variety of healing modalities, including breath work, which I got to experience firsthand, and quantum hypnosis, cacao, and energy healing. And she helps her clients heal their hearts and expand their consciousness and raise their vibe and manifest a life of joy, love, abundance, and freedom. And for those of you that follow me on Instagram, and I did the 4-day exodus from Wyoming to North Carolina, you remember when I said, guess what? I'm going to stay with a client when I go to Kansas City. And so this is the amazing goddess who was so generous to allow me and my cat to stay. But it was so great, Melissa, because I got to see you in action. I got to go to your breathwork class. I got to meet your new man. We got to like hang out and sit on the couch and talk about being women. So this is a real pleasure to have you on the show, sharing your beautiful journey with us. So first and foremost, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for allowing me to love you. How did you first even decide you were interested in getting to know me and doing this work?
So first of all, thank you for having me on the show. And it is truly an honor and a privilege and just a blessing to be able to chat like this. I really appreciate it. And I loved having you at my house. Like that was such a big treat. It was when you said yes, I was like, yay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I just wanted to pamper you. I wanted you to be held, during that massive transition. So thank you. Yeah. So how we met, I love this story because in 2021, I went on a date with a guy named George. And George and I didn't develop a romantic connection, but we did develop a friendship. And through that friendship, he started coming to some of my breathwork journeys. And we have this sharing circle after the breathwork journeys. And he kept talking about this intimacy group and how impactful it was, and how X, Y, and Z happened. And I was like, intimacy group? Like about the third time he said it, I was like, George, what are you talking about? What is this intimacy group? And the reason my ears perked up is because I, right now I'm about 5.5 years into divorce, post-divorce, I should say. And I have been out with 68 men. I've had 68 first dates.
Okay, can we just stop there? We will continue the story, but like that takes fortitude. That takes resilience, persistence. I mean, and that takes bravery to say thank you, but no thank you 68 times, or have been told thank you, but no thank you. So like, I know we're going to get onto your current situation, but okay, so that's what you were thinking about when you heard about intimacy. You had 68 experiences under your belt.
Yeah. Well, at that time, I hadn't had my 68th yet. But
that's true. 67. Yeah.
So we'll come to that. But yeah, so I was like, obviously, I had been trying.
Right.
I had been trying, and I thought that I was doing things right, and then I started to feel like I was, we'll get into that in a second, but I felt like there was something wrong with me.
Right.
Or there was some sort of block on my side. And so when he kept talking about this intimacy group, I thought, and then he was talking about, how he had met his beloved and, at that time. And then just, and I was like, wait a second. Okay, I got to learn more about this. Yeah. And I remember he said your name. I didn't write it down or put it in my phone or anything. And we, parted ways from that night. And then I went home and I was trying to Google you, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta find her. And then I found your website and I devoured it. And I was like, holy cow, she is speaking to me. That's how I felt. Yeah, that's how I felt. Every word you said, the words you said, which are very important, because I want to do this right, if that makes any sense. Like, I was married for 25 years, obviously have that experience, but I have grown and I have expanded my consciousness. And so I really want to come to this from a very heart-centered place, from an expanded consciousness state, from a conscious coupling or a conscious communication standpoint. And so the things that you were saying on your website and the way that you were saying them and the energy you exuded, I was like, yeah, okay, I need to speak to her. Yep.
Yeah. And so I'm so glad because, I'm redoing my website actually right now behind the scenes, but you do your best to put it out there to the world and speak in a way that resonates with people. So we got on a call and I invited you to work with me. And I think and this is said with all the love in my heart, because I love the shit out of you, but like, you're one of the most difficult people to say yes. Oh, your excuses and your fears and all the rest of it. And I'm like, girl, I'm not buying into that. And there was something sometimes if the clients aren't a fit, I don't push it, right? Like if they're not a fit, I don't even ask. But I just knew you were a fit. I just knew you were remarkable. And I just knew, and I even pinpointed it on our call, what I believed the block was. And so you can be as crass as you want, whatever. Like you're like, you were a bitch. But it was quite the threshold for you to surrender, to let me love you. And I think this is perhaps very common with those of us who are healers, and we've got our shit together and we've got a following and we have our clients. Like for us to be vulnerable and let somebody see our shadows or our wobbly parts is a really big deal. So tell us about your entry into the coaching program.
Yeah, we were talking right around Christmas time. My daughter was coming in town. I was highly stressed. I was in a very, financially, et cetera, right? And I think we had 2 conversations. The first one was like this on Zoom. The second one, I was in my car. I was freezing. I was tired. I was in between clients. I was just exhausted. And I am sitting there and you are being very direct.
Yeah, I'm a stand.
You were being very direct. And I knew, like, financially it was going to be, like a lot of like, how do I make this happen kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I believe investing in myself. And I've hired coaches before. I've been through lots of programs.
Yeah.
I have invested. I say that I've got a master's degree in healing arts for the past 3 years. I have had so much investing in myself.
Yes.
And I knew that there were some challenges. So I was like honestly, so I was feeling pressure, a little bit of pressure, but and then I was like, how am I going to make this work? But there was some point during that conversation where you said something just so direct.
Yeah.
And kind of called me on my excuses, called me on my fear. You called it out.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got to do something different.
Yeah.
I have to do something different.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I don't know if you remember, I just shut up. Like I just stopped saying excuses.
Yep. You sat in the fire right there on the call. Yep.
I just sat there and didn't say another word because I was like, she's right. She's right. And I knew I wanted a different outcome.
Yeah.
And I knew what I was doing was not working.
Oh, I'm just covered with shivers head to toe, like this big, like energy just went all the way down my body. Yeah. Thank you. My experience was not that I was sparring with you. I was like sparring with like a program or an ego or another thing that wasn't you. That was exactly the same energy in the way of surrendering to love, being adored, being treasured. And I sensed a similarity, and maybe we can go into this next. I've been through 2 divorces, but I wasn't as married as long as you. But so in that period of time that you were married, I'd gone through 2 marriages, and I'd really been burned. I'd really been taken advantage of. I didn't always trust myself. So there was a sense of, I guess, fierce compassion. Like I knew what the block was about to let me in. But hell, if I was going to let that take you down, not on my watch, right? I loved you too much. When we say to our kids, no, you can't go play on the yellow line, and they get really mad at us. It's like, yeah, I love you so much. You're not allowed to play on the yellow line. And it was that kind of feeling. Like, I love you so much that I'm willing for you to hate me and not move forward, but I'm not going to let your ego or your fears control you anymore. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what was it like? So there was the holidays and the new year, and then you started coming into the program, which includes private and group and the online training. What were your first impressions of the gaggle of people that we hang out with every week?
Well, I love the people, and that the community has been just such a blessing. Just and being able to see each person's perspective, how there's people who are in relationship, there are people who are single, there are people from all ages and backgrounds. And it's just, the vulnerability. There is always someone crying, not to scare away anybody who doesn't want to cry, because you're going to cry.
You're going to feel.
Even if you don't want to cry, you're going to cry. Yeah, just to see people's hearts break open every week. It's pretty remarkable. And Allana, I mean, the way that you do it sometimes is just, it's like watching a magician. Like, I don't even know, magician's not the right word, but just so professional, so it's in flow for you. Like, it just happens, and you ask the right questions at the right time, and people, I just like, I'm not baffled, but just amazed. Like, I watch and I'm like, whoa, look at how that happened. And it's happened to me too. You've done it, with me. And I think, oh, I'm fine. And then the next thing I'm bawling, and again, heart breaking open and healing. So.
Yeah. Thank you for that. 20 years. Well, you've done the work for so long as well, but 20 years, it is now in art. And before, I was so in my head trying to do it right, trying to not get rejected, trying to be attached to the outcome, and overdoing my own inner work as well. Because while you are a professional and you're my client, I'm a professional and I have coaches. So I really believe anyone you work with, you ought to make sure they're doing the work too, because nobody's better than anybody else. So I love being in the flow, and I'm a stand to love everybody home. And however that happens, it happens. Whether it's very direct, whether it's dorky, whether it's sexy, whether I swear, whether I just shut up, whatever. I just dance with people and thank you. It's exquisite. And when we're all together, it's like we go deeper as a group. It's almost like exponentially palpable, because everyone's presence is so non-judgmental and loving and grateful. And then the next person's deeper, and then the next person's deeper. Yeah. So I want to fast forward to the call where I'm like, I don't do. And we were learning from Marie Forleo, who was on Matthew McConaughey's event. And I shared with everybody, because I'm always learning too, that she said, when you say, I don't do cha-cha-cha, it is apparently 8 times more effective to changing a behavior than I do something. So instead of saying, I do calmness, saying, I don't do overwhelm. And so tell them what happened for you on that call.
Yeah, at the beginning, I was like, I don't get this. And I think the same thing that you were thinking, because when we work with the subconscious, we have these, we know the rules of the subconscious, and not to say things like don't, the word don't.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That was part of it. And I think part of it was also like, I had just had a situation occur where there was a conflict between my ex-husband and I, and it had escalated and gotten to a point where I felt uncomfortable, and I didn't want that type of conflict or that kind of interaction with him to happen again.
Yeah.
And so that was so fresh in my field, that when you started probing and we started going through my process, then that is what bubbled up to the top. And I can tell you that during that call, the energy in my body was heating up. And I can tell you, like, literally from the bottom of my feet all the way up to my heart and then above, like my whole entire body was just like on fire. By the time we were done, I felt like lit up, like I had a fire inside me, and a fire of fierceness and of like, no more.
Yes.
I don't do. And I said, I don't do abusive relationships.
Yeah.
And that, it was a full body, like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with these kinds of conflicts that feel abusive to me.
Yeah. So let's take a pause and then we'll keep going forward. I think this is really important. And I wanted us to do our best to model how to speak about our exes in a conscious way.
Yeah.
And I do have some processes in my Allana Pratt method curriculum that are very politically incorrect. But they get you through to a place of great embodiment, because I think a lot of times we spiritually bypass.
Yeah.
And and we're trying to be conscious and we're trying to be good people, but we don't integrate the deeper pain that fired up within you, and we bypass it and we maintain behaviors with a good attitude that just don't work.
Right.
And so this had been a pattern, honey. Even when you first came on, I knew when you signed on, that was the kingpin. That was what had to resolve. And this was maybe 5-6 months into our journey when that call, I don't do abusive relationships. That was your, I don't do, happened. Share with people what you had been, what's the word I want to use? Putting up with for a long time, and why, from your most vulnerable, brave heart. Cause I'm no different. We all go through this growth stage.
Yeah. So I think there were a few things happening. I think one, that he and I had been divorced for 5.5 years, and we were still working together.
Right.
And I don't wish that upon anyone.
Yeah.
Even anyone who has the most amicable breakup ever, there's a reason why you break up.
Yeah.
And you want to go on with your life. You want to start new. And we never got that chance. Neither one of us did. And there were circumstances, extenuating circumstances. We owned a business together. And when we divorced, I told our bookkeeper that we were getting divorced, and our bookkeeper quit. And somebody had to take over that duty. And so, of course, I did. I stepped up and I started to take over that duty. And then we just got into a pattern for 5.5 years where I just did that work.
Right.
And there were benefits for me. Obviously I had a paycheck and I had some benefits, and I was able to then pursue becoming a healer and, investing the money into that. So it was a win-win. He had support. I had income. We were amicable for most of the time. We have 2 daughters that we were trying to still raise, and for the most part, we got along very well. We were still best friends, but I think it's kind of like we stayed too long, if that makes any sense. Like, we stayed too long, and it got to a point where it was wearing on both of us.
Yeah.
And I have done a lot of healing and processed through a lot of the hurt between the 2 of us.
Right.
Unfortunately, he has not. And it's not that there's anything wrong with him. He just has a different approach. This was very important for me to heal. He's busy with other things. So, and that's okay. So I guess the net of it came that we stayed too long.
Yeah.
That's kind of how really the net of it is. We stayed
wasn't
too long.
Wasn't there a pattern though of him not honoring you in his communication? A lot of disrespect, and I don't know, you say the words, because whatever you would speak about him to me or on the call, this was not a healthy environment where you were honored. Quite the opposite.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that there was a lot of codependency there. So that was part of it. And in a codependent relationship, usually there's one person who's more empathetic or more of an empath, and maybe one that is more, I don't know So I think that he had a pattern of projecting his frustrations onto me.
Yeah.
And
like, did it feel like bullying kind of?
Yeah. Bullying, berating, badgering, those types of things. And when I speak up and when I try to defend myself, then it gets bigger and louder. And so for the longest time, I would just, freeze.
Shrink.
My nervous system would freeze, or I would just be quiet because I want it over. I just want the conversation over.
Right.
Yeah.
And from an energetic point of view, it's hard to see ourselves and our own blind spots. That's for sure. Right. But what I could see is that here you are trying to create everything, but you're simultaneously shrinking your energy. So you were going 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And so what was the deepest fear you actually, we had to work through for you? Yes, you said, I'm not doing abusive relationships anymore. Tell us not only what you did, but what you actually had to move through and face within yourself.
Mhm.
That was the reason why you were staying so long.
Yeah. But, I had a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
I had a steady paycheck that paid my mortgage, that paid my bills, made sure that my daughter and I ate. And I was deathly afraid of losing that.
Yeah. And stepping
I,
into what? Deathly afraid of what?
I,
Like,
I am I was and am
hmm.
deathly afraid of being poor, of not being able to provide, not being able to have all of my needs met. I mean, that is a core childhood fear. It is in my DNA, and I've been working and trying to heal that forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I have made a ton of progress,
Yes,
like
you have.
so much progress.
Yes,
And
you
even
have.
in the past 2 weeks, I've made progress.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. Tell me. But
Yeah.
yeah, tell them
Oh
what
my gosh,
happened right after that call. And then we had some email exchanges and
yeah.
so let's take them through the process.
Yeah. So again, I just, so really the conversation he and I had was on a Monday, and then our call is on a Tuesday. So the Monday I had written myself a note, letter of resignation. I send myself notes via email, and about an hour after the conflict on Monday, I'd written myself a note and sent it. And then I was like, no, I can't do that. And then we had our call on Tuesday, and the energy is bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up. And then by the time we got off the call, I just doop, 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 letter of resignation and sent it off. And I was like, what did I just do?
Oh, but you also put down boundaries around how you're going to interact together and how you're going to parent together. Like this was a blanket, not just the job, like the whole way that the two of you are going to be together. You put your foot down and said, this is how it's going to be. There will be honor and respect and nothing but.
Yeah. So, I did. I finally stood up for myself, and I finally said, this is how I will be treated. And we'll have these boundaries. Yes. And that was not just for him, but that was also for me to really know what I needed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And then he respected that. He honored everything.
Yeah.
He said, okay, accepted. And I'll tell you who the replacement is soon, and you can start to train them. And during that whole 2-month process, he respected it the whole entire time. Wonderful. We even had our daughter's graduation in the middle of it, and he was respectful then too. So I think that it came down to he also didn't want to work with me either. And neither
somebody had to go first.
Neither one of us was ready. It had to. One of us had to finally put the line in the sand, and
Yeah. I so respect you being willing to put the line in the sand personally and professionally and parentally. And then the next feeling that would come up is like, oh my God, like how many of us mistake the source of our wealth being a person or a job as opposed to it being from source with multiple channels. And here we are, these spiritual teachers, and we're like, oh, I gotta walk my talk here and face my own fears. So what did you then work through in terms of, okay, he's not my source, source is source. What else is possible here? And you began magic started to arise.
Oh, yeah. And I knew that I wanted to expand. I knew that I wanted to do certain things, and I had been putting them on the back burner because even though that was a part-time job, it still took a lot of energy, and it took a lot of focus, and I was constantly kind of kept being pulled back into the past with that.
Yes.
And so I wanted to go forward. And, in the past 3.5 years, I've built a, thriving healing business, from nothing. I sold my business in 2020 and then started all of this training and have a thriving business. And I kept getting pulled in the past, And so once I was able to really cut that tie to the past and start focusing forward, like,
all of your energy.
So much is happening. So much. It's so much momentum. Like something happened on this past Friday that I had an idea, and within 24 hours, the whole thing had been like fleshed out, and all the right people and all the things were just like, I'm like, okay, I hear you. You know?
I really respect your willingness to go through and integrate And I want to talk about our last private session as well, but integrate the fear, perhaps ancestral, that I can't provide for myself. I need a man, I need a job. And what I often find, the people that are attracted to me are very high level people. They're not beginners on the conscious path. And the way I see it is like water is 210, water is 211, steam is 212, right? From water to steam is only 1 degree. And I tend to attract people who are at 211 wanting 212. The guy, the gal, the money, this, whatever it is. And it's very, very small, but it's the darkest before the dawn. It is the worst, darkest, most gripping, paralyzing fear to integrate. And those are my favorite places to go because it has the most energy and it creates the most breakthroughs. And I think that's really what happened. This was the last straw of you having to finally face, okay, I'm going to move through and experience that I can provide for myself, that the universe does have my back, and I don't need to rely on a job where I'm being abused any longer. And then so 1 more degree, but whoa, all these things started to arise. So tell people what you're doing, all these wonderful new opportunities.
Oh my gosh, so many things. The biggest one is I just launched a healing retreat in Costa Rica for early 2024.
Which I'm saying is keep your ass there, because then you're going to come to my retreat.
That's right.
It's our community's retreat right after. I would love that.
Because it's a week before yours. So
so just stay and come over.
I know. I should just live in Costa Rica for a whole month, I think.
Why not? Your kids are grown or can stay with dad or what have you.
So that was professionally, that's one of the biggest things, I think, and professionally, and we'll talk about the one-on-one experience that we had, because there's more professionally that's been happening since our one-on-one.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Good.
Yeah. So we can talk about that now, or we can talk about the other big thing.
Okay. So let's just rewind. So she had this big breakthrough. She faced one of her biggest fears. We integrated this, and there were like corporate breathwork events, right? That came as well as at the healing center. So a whole different way of bringing in additional streams of income instantly within a week or two.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that happened that same week. So much happened. And this is, I'm a manifestation teacher.
Yes.
So I know this stuff, right? I know that this is the way it works. Yeah. It's all about energy.
Yeah.
And I launched my Breathwork for Business program and had my first clients. They loved it, and they want me to come back and continue to work with their sales team.
Yeah.
I launched the retreat. I'm launching another big, huge Quantum Heart program, which is a big group program that'll be ongoing. So just launching a lot of programs, also scaling back on things that were not energetically aligned, or things that were draining my energy. So I'm just starting to really step into my magic and my strength, and that some of that comes from that one-on-one session that we had. So the one, do we want to talk about that first? Or
because to me, I sort of see this like a little bit bumpy. So there was resistance. No, I think I'll still keep the job. And then we face it and you let it go. And then instantly these new streams of income came in as you worked through. No, I am able to take care of myself.
Yeah.
But then it was almost like a dip. You got really, really sick, tired. Your body was starting to shut down. And so much of the work that I've been doing, so I've been doing this for 20 years, but you all know from the last year and a half, I've done so much PSI work that doesn't require medicine in order to have these experiences, but it's all about the body. It's all about trusting the body. And your clever little mind, and you're so good at leaving the body because you're so out in the quantum field. But I'm like, no, something's going on in your body for you to be this ill when this much life force is trying to come through you. There's a mismatch. So we had a really powerful private session. So tell them about that. And then I can't wait to hear what's occurred because of it.
Yeah. So I've been dealing with adrenal fatigue, like literally just hitting walls and sleeping for 3 or 4 hours a day and just not able to keep my energy up. And I'm a very energetic person, very courageous person, very like impulsive person. Like I feel something and I can go. And so I was just constantly hitting these roadblocks. And I also wanted to honor my body to rest and, to restore and rejuvenate, try to figure out what's actually happening, on a cellular level. But I also knew, at the same time, again, everything is energy, and all of this stuff is emotional. It starts in the emotional and energy field, and then it gets to the body,
Correct. Yeah.
So during our session, I was actually shocked, honestly, that the way that you asked the questions, my jaw wanted to talk. And so I know that our bodies are subconscious and they store, the body keeps the score, all of that. I was just shocked that it was my jaw. It was so interesting to me. And so my jaw decided to talk and said, showed me a picture of me on social media and showed me this little selfie of me with a really big message behind it. But the energy in that picture was so low that the energy I was projecting, with the picture was not matching the message that I have.
Yeah.
And it really helped me to see that when I was trying to rest, I was still trying to work at the level that I know I can work at, but I wasn't able to.
Because,
I see this huge disconnect.
Yeah. I believe your body was doing that to slow you down to feel what you didn't want to feel. Because you have this pattern of, you understand so much. It was almost like, get over it, body, get over it, body. We got to do this. But the body was like, oh, hell no, not until you actually feel this that you might not feel proud of, embarrassed about, scared of, I don't know, ashamed of, I don't know quite your experience, but there were tears. You had to feel through something. Your body was not going to let you move forward until this was felt and integrated, not just spirit, not just mind, but body, mind, and spirit all united. What was your experience that you had to feel that took your body slowing you down and me saying, lie down in your bed for this session. Here we go. We're going to feel. What was that like, honey?
I mean, it was really an awareness that I had been playing small, that I have a really big message and that I can help people.
Yeah. But what was the feeling? That's the awareness. But what was the feeling?
The feeling was just, the feeling was like, probably like helplessness. This feeling of, when I've always been an overachiever, and then not a bad way, have high goals, want to succeed, want to achieve. And there's a lot of hustling.
Yeah.
A lot of, mind, like you said. Yeah. When medical medium said that I have a elegant mind is what she called it. And I was like, oh, thank you. But it, my mind, my intellect, my heart, even, I know my intuition, I can go. And this was a realization that really kind of helplessness. Like I know, and I'm not trusting. I know, I talk about this all the time. The path will be revealed as we walk it. Yeah. I know that spirit and source, God, Gus, God, universe, source. I know that Gus is behind me. And,
but your body didn't think so.
No, but I
didn't think so.
Yeah. So there was a big disconnect. Yeah. And you helped me integrate that day. And it was remarkable. I was shocked. That's not what I expected. I expected something completely different. I was expecting something about the fear of money, not making money. But this was more of like this helplessness of knowing that I have this big role to play, yet not doing it and just feeling so disconnected from like how, and just feeling helpless and worn out, just worn out, worn out from hustling for so many years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if this is your being in alignment, you had been pushing for so long and you knew up here all of this, but the body was like, no, but I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling overwhelmed. We're not in alignment moving forward. We're pushing. So everything was pushing back on you in terms of your like illness. I mean, you were going to doctors and doing all these tests. I mean, you were really trying to figure it out. And I think that's all important. But I was just like, oh no, just like I was like, she's got to quit that job. I'm like, she's got to sit her ass down and feel this shit. Like, here we go. So you were so brave. And I'm so grateful for your brave vulnerability as we felt through and honored your body equally to your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
The wisdom of your body honored just as much as the knowing of your divine mind. So I know you sent me a voice message the next day, how great you felt. I'm like, yeah, but I haven't heard, besides the physical shift, what's been going on as well. So yeah, tell us what happened after that integration.
Yeah. So just from a business perspective, like I am just so much more clear on my purpose and my message and feeling more confident about presenting that message and just feeling more in flow when I have my events. I channel a lot during my events, and so feeling more confident. I just feel like I kind of got out of the rut that I was in. I was like in a pretty big rut, and yeah.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. Yay. And has the body more energy or more alignment? Like how's your sweet body?
Yeah. So my body is in a work in progress. And she is, I am doing more self-care, more, really taking sweet care of her, and I'm feeling better, like having less adrenal crashes.
Great.
Just had my blood work done, and I am like, yes. I mean, my blood work looks fabulous.
Oh, honey, I'm so happy. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so true that when we integrate these emotions, the body does align. Yeah. I have at least two more questions I want to ask you, but what is this big thing that you wanted to tell me that has also happened since we did that integration call?
Well, it wasn't since the integration call, but remember what happened after?
Oh, the 68th date.
Yes.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Yeah. Okay. So 67 dates before she started working with me. And then we've done all this work. Go ahead.
This is the funnest.
This is the good. Yeah.
So about 2 weeks after, actually I went on date number 67, about 2 weeks after this whole thing happened. And that was just a friendship. We developed a friendship. And then the next week, for about 2 weeks, I kept getting this intuitive hit that I was supposed to go to this healing circle. And I was like, no, I just kept saying no. And then the Wednesday before the Friday of the circle, I really got this huge intuitive hit, like, you're supposed to go, not only because it's a healing circle and there's a community, but you might meet someone. And that message was very clear. You might meet someone.
So put on the lip gloss.
I know. I was like, okay, all right. So I show up at the Friday event, and within about an hour, I met someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell us why he's different, how you know, and how you can put all the pieces together of like, that was the piece that you couldn't figure out, because if you could have, you would have, but you can't see your blind spot. I can't see mine. And this is now such a greater fit.
It is so much about alignment. Like, we feel like that we are in like complete alignment. It is about the heart. This is a very heart-centered, very conscious relationship. I've never had this kind of conscious relationship before. And when we decided to be boyfriend, girlfriend, I told him that night, I said, I've never had a boyfriend. And he looks at me and was like, you've never had a boyfriend? I'm like, yeah, this version of me has never had a boyfriend. Like, this version of me is a completely different person.
Yeah.
And he had told me the same thing when I met him. He said, you're getting a whole new man. and like we both can feel it on both, on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And I got to go out for dinner and
Yeah.
meet him and watch the way he cares for you. And he's like aware of you out of his periphery. Like he's present talking to me and my prior client, George, as well, came as we all went to the breath work and then out for dinner. But I was just really loving the way he put his hand on the small of your back, or the way he would lean in, or the way he'd speak about you. What are you noticing in terms of your capacity to receive adoration in a way you hadn't before?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have this like 14-page manifestation list for my man.
Right?
And many of the things, were just like respect and adoration and the little touches, like you just
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah. I watched them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, all of those things were on that list. And as I read the list, a couple of weeks after I met him, I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, I manifested my man. Like, this is amazing. Thank
When
you,
did you
universe.
when did you write that, by the way?
I started writing it in 2020, and then I kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. After when you go on 68 dates, you kind of get a lot of data, right?
Data. What do you think it was? And I mean, I don't want to take all the credit, but I want it to be like authentic.
Mhm.
I really believe the dynamic, even though I'm like, we're sisters, we're friends, we're colleagues, in this dynamic, I got you. I got you. Like my masculine energy is unwavering, and I will be fierce with you, straight with you, and I will never let you fall. And I will not give up until we get through this. Like, that's my masculine energy. And my feminine energy is like patient and loving and understanding and caring. And I just sweet with you. And
Mhm.
my hope is that energy allowed you to just relax a bit, so you didn't have to be on all the time, like you were saying, hustling.
Yeah.
Slow down to feel what you wouldn't have felt on 67 dates. Integrate that, take an action that you hadn't done in 5 years,
Mhm.
and then poof, there he
Yeah.
was. Like,
Yeah.
alignment is only 1 degree off sometimes, and then there
Yeah.
it was, and everything has shifted. Love, money, work, like
Yeah.
health, everything.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. Allana, I mean, that's it exactly. So if I hadn't joined, I'm not gonna, this is not an absolute, we know this, but by joining
Mm,
and being a part of this intimacy group and this process with you,
mm,
I was held when I was the most vulnerable and the most scared.
mm.
And I was able to heal and integrate one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
And by putting up that boundary, then I told the universe that I was ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would not have been able to put up that boundary without your support.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for letting me love you.
Mm.
Thank you. I love to love you. I love, what's your purpose? I love to love the shit out of people, like literally like the energetic shit out of people
Yeah.
and the symbolic sense. And then, so thank you. Thank you
Mm.
for that acknowledgement. And then thank you for stepping up and being there for me when my landlord was a crazy person and I was doing this exodus, because I was contracting. I was like keeping it together, pack up, move across the country, and to surrender to you and be vulnerable with you and let you take me in and cradle me and hold me and take me to your breath work. And I had a beautiful, very exquisite experience. And my intention was to feel just like you. You wanted to be held, to know that the universe would support you. That's what I wanted too. When I was in your breath class, that was my intention. We wrote out on the cards before we started, like, I have an embodied experience that I am held. And it was magical. So thank you so much for being my sister and giving your beautiful gifts to help me evolve to the next level as well.
Of course. It is. this law of reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
It's not all a one-way street, and we support each other when we need to, and when we want to, when
When we're
the
ready.
opportunity arises, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So part of me is thinking I should go to Costa Rica early, go to your retreat, and then you come to my retreat.
Yeah.
I just got to get someone to watch my cat for 2 weeks, not 1 week. But I'm really tell us a little bit about how people can play with you if they live in Kansas City, if they don't with this online, or come to Costa Rica. And again, it's healandexpand.com to find out more about what Melissa offers. So yeah, what are you doing?
What do I do? Yes. So the reason I named my website healandexpand.com is because I discovered that once you start healing, then you start expanding, and then you start manifesting.
Right.
It's like the perfect process, right? And so most of my events are in Kansas City, and I do weekly and monthly breathwork events, quantum manifestation workshops, breathwork for the health of it, new moon circles, like all different kinds of ways that you can experience working with a conscious community, being held in a sacred container, being able to heal your heart, expand your consciousness, raise your vibe, and manifest a life of joy, love, abundance, and freedom. And all of that came directly from source, by the way. So and I work one-on-one with clients doing quantum hypnosis, energy healing, and breath work. I also have a 3 and 6 month coaching program, which is a quantum coaching program where I take them through the quantum manifestation process. And then this event in Costa Rica is called, it's in Nosara, which is on the Pacific side, and it's at a place called Jade Nosara, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It is like, it has divine feminine energy, just being held in nature, in the womb, like it's just like, so it'll be a breathwork and manifestation retreat, and we'll have daily yoga and movement. We'll have riding a catamaran out to a private island to do some snorkeling. We'll do taking the stand-up paddleboards through the mangroves, like having a beach day, going to the city, or the little town, the little surf town. So lots of rest, rejuvenation, revitalization, lots of manifestation. I want people to really be living their future self now. I want them to feel the vibration of what their future life is, and to really integrate that, really embody that. Like the whole week will be about, clearing the clutter, clearing the block, so that they can really step into that vibration and really start to focus forward on their future.
I love it, honey. I love it. I'm thinking, wow, it's been 1.5 years, almost 2 years. My last time to Nosara, that's where I met my ex. Since we connected, I always continue to do the work as well in terms of alignment. And after 20 months, he is finally signing the plea deal for criminal assault.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't have to go to jury trial. He is apparently ready to own it. And so I'm thinking about Nosara, creating a new memory of that place.
Yes, I feel this for you. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. I know that's got to be huge heart healing for you as well.
Totally. Yeah. And so the work works for you. The work works for me. The work works. Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to you coming over to my retreat after. We're going to be a little south of the Liberia airport. A beautiful, it's an epic 9-bedroom mansion right on the water. So we have our own private beach, our own private lawn, our own private pool, and this beautiful home. I used to, and I've done them both ways, had retreats at hotels as well, which has its own perks. But there's something about being at home in your body, at home in your spirit, and at home in luxury, so that you can, as you said, like expand to receive. And then the intimacy practices that I take people through, it's a beautiful blend of going super deep and it's uncomfortable. It's vulnerable. It's sexy. It's erotic. It's plant medicine. It's a lot of wonderful experiences to help people get out of their mind. They don't need me to be smarter. They need to get in their body, and they need someone, as Melissa's been sharing, as fiercely loving, unwavering, tender, patient as my energy is. And then the other half, we just play. We play a lot. We have a lot of fun. We're very naughty. We have costume night. We go out. We're going to go zip lining. We're going to go to the local, probably sing karaoke and take over a place somewhere.
Yeah.
The full self-expression, the vulnerability of not just exposing your deepest wounds in community and resolving them, integrating them. Also, the vulnerability of showing up fully, unapologetically, deliciously, erotically, goofy, dorky, like the breadth of vulnerability is what we do. So it's almost sold out, actually. So there's only one space left for a single woman, one space left for a single man, and two couples.
Nice.
So I look forward to you getting lots of sales. So yes, and hold your spot with mine as well. And we can double down and have each other's back. That would be exquisite.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can feel it. Feels so good. Feels so juicy.
It is juicy. They're always beyond what I can imagine. And it's also an experience of me learning how to receive support from my event coordinators so that I can just focus on contributing. Yeah. It's awesome. Okay. So delicious one. Healandexpand.com is how you connect with this woman. So sorry, guys. She's already been scooped up. So she's taken now. And if there's any corporate people watching that would like to do breath work, she does this as well. And it's Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas. So we know what Kansas City we're talking about. From your beautiful heart to the viewers or listeners, what is one thing you want them to absolutely know about this beautiful journey of intimacy that we've been on together?
We have to choose ourselves. We have to choose ourselves. And sometimes that can feel selfish, and that can feel like, we've been programmed and conditioned not to put ourselves, we've been always conditioned to put ourselves, later. We'll get to that later. Prioritize yourself, choose yourself. And when you feel the call, trust your intuition and take it and jump off the cliff. You'll be held all the way.
Thank you. It's been so delicious holding you, playing with you, and the inspiration you are to the others in the class as well. Your willingness to be vulnerable, take those bold steps, do the deep integration, and then watch you romantically, physically, vocationally, financially blossom. And the gift you are to your daughters too, to watch this journey. I really just want to complete with that we're here to evolve, obviously for ourselves, for our relationships. But when we get to this place of alignment or wholeness and we find another partner, whether that partner is professional like us or romantic, it's one and one is infinity. We are more for our kids. We are more for humanity. We are more just energetically, even if we never even meet people, we're a contribution to the planet when we do this work. So I've learned from Andy San Pietro this term self-firstness, and it's not selfish. It's not selfless. That's last dimension. Right now we're in fifth dimension and higher, self-firstness. And from that wholeness, when we are whole, of course we do what love would do, right? And we can trust that. We can trust that.
I love that.
Oh, I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you for being on Intimate Conversations. So please follow up with Melissa, and please follow up with me. And thanks for being on this journey with us. And if there's a way that you need support to make those big decisions and face those big blocks, that the body is often the way. We're often clever enough, and it's time to surrender into the beauty and the wisdom of our beautiful bodies, because we're here to be embodied. We're here to have a good time. Yeah. All right. I love you, sweetheart. Thank you ever so much. And until next time on Intimate Conversations, thank you for the honor and privilege of loving the shit out of you. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. Okay, so ever since I went to the Bigfoot Museum and I hear this bang, bang, bang through the forest, I'm wondering if it's the Sasquatch.
and I'm hearing it right now. Anyways, I'm out paddleboarding. God, it was amazing. I gotta say though, I can totally tell the difference. I'm out of my magic mind. And I try to stay on top of it and make sure, the next place I move to and that my subscription follows my travels. But I didn't get organized enough, and I'm out, and it's on its way apparently. But I notice the difference. I notice my body, mind and spirit is drawn to drinking my magic mind with my cinnamon and my ginger. I just love it. So I did just my cinnamon and ginger this morning, and it was fine. But I gotta say, when I got here paddleboarding, I didn't quite have the pep that I normally have. So I went a little slower, and that's okay. But I noticed there was like that yummy in my body flow thing that happens, that energy thing. It didn't happen. So I hope it arrives today. And just so you know, I've asked the company to provide a discount for you. So check in the show notes. I believe the code is intimate, and you get half off if you get a subscription like I get, and 20% off if you just want to give it a try. So give it a try. Just get 2 weeks and see how you feel. Because for me, I'm like not happy this morning that I don't have it. But I'm still Allana. And when I got on the water this morning, it was still like foggy. And it was kind of a little bit spooky, and I sort of felt like the lady of the lake. And I met some more paddleboarders this morning. I don't ever meet paddleboarders here. Kayakers, canoers, lots of boats. But I met a couple, which was lovely. And another man was fishing, and I got to be sure when I paddleboard to get out of people's fishing lines. And I asked if he had caught breakfast yet, and he said, no, just a few nibbles. He goes, but maybe by the time you come back, pass by, I'll have breakfast ready for you, which I thought was very delicious and flirtatious, especially now that I am saying, okay, I'm ready for partnership and I'm showing up again. So this podcast episode with Melissa was another inspiration to never give up. My God, 67 first dates, and she kept going. And 68 was her current boyfriend. So I bless her, and I hope that I only have to date a fraction of those many people to meet my beloved. And as I was driving here this morning, the inspiration that she gave me is a reminder that, it's not going to be like one day and then we're finally happy, one day and we're finally at rest, one day and we're finally enough. Like, screw all that, right? All of that's here now. The home inside our body is here now. The safety inside our heart is here now. The worth inside our soul is here now. And our partnership is meant to be like sprinkles, not on top of the ice cream cone of shit like I often say, but truly gravy, icing, sprinkles onto our already amazing life, that we're our most attractive when we are living our purpose fully, when we are being who we truly are. So I hope this podcast episode was inspiring to you, that the work works, and the honor of being able to take very high level people through this deep shadow work into the light, into that integration, so they can allure and receive their ideal partners is such a privilege and fulfilling life that I have. So check out Melissa. And if you are in Kansas City, please go to one of her breath workshops and maybe do a 2 for 2. Go to her retreat in Costa Rica, then my retreat in Costa Rica. But we're here to play together, support one another, grow and arise. So thank you for the honor of loving the shit out of you every week. We'll see you next week.